Hello there. I'm going to read an excerpt from my family memoir in progress. It's called Love Across the Middle Passage, Making an African-American Family. I did check with my husband, let him read this section right before we came to make sure I will have a home to come home to after this. Yeah, the struggle is real, man, telling the truth. Anyway, it is late May. The weather in Minneapolis, not too warm just yet, but moving beyond the mind-numbing 6 months of winter. Everything is green and growing, the air light and florid. We hear our neighbors through the windows, boisterous on the streets. The sun is taking longer and longer to fall at night, and when it warms you, your cool, pale face, you can feel yourself stretching out, opening up. Bala stands in front of the sink in our tiny bathroom, brushing his teeth vigorously. While I brush twice a day for a maximum of 30 seconds, he brushes for at least 5 minutes, 2 or 3 times a day, and I swear he draws blood from his gums he presses with such force. But his teeth are the pearly whites of Crest commercials, while mine are fading yellow. So I suppose that the method really does produce the results. I'm taking a quick shower before work, while Boise, now 2, sprawls across our bed, still sleeping. Our bathroom is the size of a small walk-in closet, but it still somehow ends up being the most trafficked room in the house, with 2, even sometimes 3 of us packed in at one time. This morning's no different. Are you going to apply for that accountant job? I asked Bala through the shower curtain, washing conditioner out of my hair. I think so, he replies, mouth full of toothpaste. I'm always on the lookout for possible prospective jobs for my husband, who has a bachelor's degree in business and finance from the University of Liberia, but who is currently making $8 an hour loading and stocking merchandise very early in the morning at Target. We've accepted that Bala has no job experience here and that he has to build his resume, but what is frustrating is that the job experience he does have working at an international construction company in Monrovia, as well as his education, are not seen and don't seem to count at all with employers. It is one thing to have to start below your competency level, and another to have to go back to zero. I mean, obviously it's not ideal, but it's a place to start, I say. The job is listed as temporary, and it is at my workplace. Okay, I'm going to skip through this part because... yes, I will apply. Bala has also been taking a few introductory level accounting classes at MCTC in order to brush up on his skills and learn computerized programs like Quicken and Peachtree, which are staples in the industry here, but which he did not have access to in Liberia. In Africa, we study hard, but we study all the wrong things, he told me the other day. Here in the West, you do not study all that hard, but you study all the right things. I thought that was fairly profound. I put this in the category of contemporary proverbs and have been turning it over in my mind ever since he said it. I have this list in my mind of contemporary proverbs. Yes. You will take the boy to find some suitable clothes for church today, he asks. Every Sunday, we have been going to the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church in St. Paul, a prominent black church in the area. The building is beautiful, the people welcoming, but I blanch at many of the socially conservative messages conveyed through the service, even as I work hard to translate them into Buddhist terms I can embrace. I'm not interested in hearing about obeying your husband or trusting that God will work everything out when one may be dealing with abuse or financial hardship. And I feel my face turn red when the pastor requests that every family contribute $130 towards a fund for television monitors in various parts of the church. I am aware that there are families in the congregation who are reasonably well off, but I would guess that there are many more who are struggling to pay the light and gas bills every month. To ask them to pay for something as frivolous as TV monitors seems inappropriate, to say the least. Still, I know that weekly visits to church are very important to my husband, being raised in a fiercely Baptist family, in a proudly Baptist community, in a predominantly Christian nation. So until he is comfortable driving on his own and carrying his son there on his own, I make the effort to get the whole family there, and to make sure that all of us are dressed properly for the occasion. Yes, yes, after work, I say. I'll take him to Target. I reach down to turn off the spigot. Look for a nice coat suit and pants, he says, and some Dexters, too. It has taken me a minute, but I now understand that coat suit in Liberian English means suit in American English, and that Dexters are what we would call loafers or dress shoes. Sounds good, I say, beginning to dry myself off with a towel. There's a springtime children's celebration at the meditation center next Saturday. Nothing big, but I thought it would be nice to take him, and even better if he has something nice to wear. Bala has been lightly running a brush over his closely cropped hair, but he stops and brings the brush down to the sink. He looks pained, which makes me nervous. Babe, he says. Yes, I say, squeezing past him to grab my hair product. Bala clears his throat. I know Boise is American. I accept that. He lives here, even if we will spend some time in Africa. That is how it is. He will be mostly American and part African. Two things, though mostly one. And I know that you're a Buddhist, but I don't want him to be. I want him to be Christian. I wrap my towel around my middle and cinch it hard. When we were dating long distance for a year, Bala in Liberia, me here, the one thing that almost broke us up was this issue of religion. He wanted me to convert, and I knew that I couldn't. Although I was raised Catholic, I've never been able to embrace the messages of sin as the predominant human condition. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit being male and white entities, nor the relative hypocrisy of various God-fearing relatives who constantly throw all the teachings of the Bible at everyone they know and stand in judgment of every perceived transgression, even though they themselves are far from perfect. And to be fair, it was never just about Christianity or Catholicism for me. Organized religion of all kinds seemed dangerous to me. Catholicism just happened to be the particular flavor of organized religion to which I was exposed. I fell into Buddhism not so much as a world religion, as it is practiced in much of Asia, but more as a philosophy and meditative practice. I did not worship the Buddha any more than I worshiped Jesus. What I appreciate are the Buddha's insights about human suffering and the way to alleviate it. If at all possible, let's see. I came to these teachings in my late 20s through my own suffering, as many people do. If at all possible, I want my son to have access to them so that he can develop positive tools to deal with suffering that will eventually come his way. I want to choose my words carefully because I know that this is a sensitive issue. Boise is Christian, I say slowly. We are raising him to be. As far as him being Buddhist, I don't care if he identifies with that or not. As he gets older, I want him to try meditation because I think it could really help him calm down in difficult situations. But all religions have some form of meditation, including Christianity. When we were figuring out if it was possible or realistic to try to build an interfaith relationship and family, what I kept on coming back to was the ecumenical nature of all spiritual systems. I told Bala, who at that time had really only been exposed to Christianity and Islam in Liberia, that all religions had the same values and ideals at their core: love, forgiveness, generosity. I said that that was what we needed to focus on with respect to the many differences between Buddhism and Christianity. If we could do that, rather than require the other partner to somehow change their spiritual community or system, I argued that we could occupy a space between. I said that we could make a third way, one that was not binary black or white, but rather an abiding grayness. I said that it wouldn't be easy to rest in such a space of ambiguity and in-betweenness, but that I knew we could do it if we were committed to truly loving and respecting each other, and to the tenets and values undergirding both Buddhism and Christianity. He agreed, and now here we were, muddling through our desires for our son's religious community. Yes, we have talked about all of that, Bala says, waving his hand, with respect to us, but I'm talking about him, my son. It would be very difficult for him to be two things like that. I want him to be one thing only. My mother told me long ago that I would have a very difficult life, since I can't control what happens to my face when I hear certain things. And she was right. She was right. I could feel my eyes bulging and my skin turning red, my whole face contorting and scrunching up into something ugly. But I am more than one thing. I'm African and I'm I'm American, but I am Black American. And I'm Black American, but I am mixed Black American. I am mixed Black American, but I'm adopted into a white family. I'm a professor, but I'm also an artist. I'm already a million things at once. You can't separate. It is impossible to keep the passion out of my voice. The longer I'm in this relationship, the more I come to believe that this is the central tension between us. I grew up in the most powerful culture in the world, but on the margins in just about every way, while he grew up in a culture with comparably little power in the world, but he was centered as a male in a culture that centered males, black in an all-black community, and Christian in a Christian culture. For him, being at home in his own body, as well as his experience in the world, is normal, the way it should be. For me, feeling outside the norm because I am too much of one thing but not enough of the other, having some access to power but never really being part of it, is how I've always moved through the world. Again, I'm talking about Boise, not you or I, he says. I sigh, babe, you can't talk about Boise without talking about you and I. Bala's brow furrows. He is his own person. He is not you and I. Exactly my point. His world will be even bigger, even more complicated than ours. He will probably have to go between even more communities and identities than we ever will. Myself, I think of how much easier it will be for him to do that if he is only one thing. I feel like this argument is getting at something so deep in our relationship that there might not even be words for it. A slow burn of anger is bubbling up in my gut, and I'm struggling mightily to contain it. For some reason, Bala's words are assaulting me. Well, it might be easier, I say, but that doesn't mean it will be better. I don't know if I have succeeded in keeping the acid out of my tone. I'm sure my husband would say no. Bala just looks tired. I take his hand. He will continue to go with you to church. And your time together as father and son, I agree it's a very important part of his heritage. But he also has other traditions in his line as well. Even if we don't teach them to him ourselves, he will find out about them from school, from friends, from everyone around him. Here, it's not uncommon to have more than one religion or spiritual tradition in your house. Really? He asked, incredulous. I nod. Thanks.